We're going right now. It's on you, Dobie. You're looking good.
Oh boy, it must be the wrong guy right there. Brothers and sisters, Mrs. and Misters, joke tellers and merchandise sellers. This is the Ask Us Anything conference mini summit preparing for April 30th. My name is Dobie Maxwell, master of the Maxwell Method, also joined by the mighty jer-dog, who's coming from a fantastic gig in Gary, Indiana. We're here on Easter Sunday. Happy Easter if you are of the Christian faith. Happy, Passover if you are of the Jewish faith. I think Ramadan's coming up there. Don't need any ham or bacon, whatever you do. We're going to talk today about business. Business is the most important thing in show business. It should be called Business Show because that is the most important part. But we've got a summit coming up, a telesummit, a lot like this, only a lot bigger on Sunday, April the 30th from 2 to 6 p.m. roughly, but we've gone longer and packed more information in all these preview calls. I have no doubt we're going to do the exact same thing on the 30th. It's normally $149. jer-dog has set it up, but we have a discount price of $99 until when? I believe it's Wednesday of this week?
Yeah, Wednesday or Tuesday or the 18th, whatever
18th.
That is.
I think that is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, so we'll extend it till that night, but
yes.
Yeah. And there'll be a link under the video.
Sell a kidney, cash in some cans, sell your out-of-style clothing to the hipsters, and get in this because it's going to be an action-packed, double-stacked, slightly whacked extravaganza, all-star cast. No joke here. I'm not trying to be a wrestling announcer, even though that's what I used to do for a lot of years. And we've got a lot of things that can really help you as you're coming up the comedy ladder. There are 100 times more comedians and 100 times less the demand. Business, any business, is about supply and demand. And the best people, the most qualified, get the gigs. And in a limited demand situation, you got to be more qualified quick. Doesn't matter how funny you are. Funny is not even in the top 10. It's business.
I agree. I think a lot of comedians, they get together and they're all trying to talk about their comedy. They're trying to talk about their oh, what do you think of this bit? What do you think of this joke? Can you help me with a tag here?
So funny.
What do you think of this, and this? What should I wear on stage?
That's kind of what our Facebook group is about.
Yeah, all valid questions,
yep.
But we can talk till we're blue in the face. None of that's actually going to get you the gig. Even if you're the best comedian in the world, you're not going to get the gig unless you have at least a little bit of business acumen.
You have to get the gig to be the best comedian in the world. Talking about pro wrestling, it's funny when I was a ring announcer for a group up in Wisconsin years ago, and it was a lot of fun, and I would hang out with the guys, and they would say, okay, we're going to have a match on the 27th. Okay, you throw me in the corner and I'll give you the elbow smash. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I got to get posters, I got to rent an arena, I got to put ads in the paper, I got to get the media press releases out. That's what you just said. And the same thing with comedy. I got a great tag, I got a new closer. We're doing good. We're actually doing a mini teleseminar. That's okay, you're kind of in it. You want some food?
I'll have another Blue Moon, and let me just get like a burger and fry. Actually, it's kind of weird to ask for around Red Robin. I haven't looked at the menu yet.
No,
I'll look at the menu real quick.
Yeah, I'll go to the menu and I'll fill this out.
You guys are open for a while, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're open for a while?
Yeah, we're open till
everything else is closed.
6.
So, okay, we'll be here. We'll be done way before 6. Thanks a lot.
So you're talking about the doing versus the business, the marketing, like the doing. The pro wrestlers talking about the elbow smash.
Right.
That's talking about the doing. You're talking about the promotion, the marketing, the putting asses in seats.
So they can do the elbow smash and all the other things. You have to get the people, these ambiance, the show in place before you can entertain people. Otherwise, you're entertaining comedians. And when's the last time you got a check from a comedian? It doesn't happen.
Right.
Miles to the order of, they're sleeping on a couch. No offense. I'm a comedian. If you're watching this, you probably are too, or an aspiring comedian. We are some of the most, how can I say, antisocial, couch sleeping, stay with their mom, behind 15 years on your taxes. We're social misfits. That's why we're comedians. Thank you. Dented cans, cracked eggs since it's Easter, whatever you want to call it. Let's get the business going because there's a lot of people, and it's so funny the people that quote-unquote make it. Every few years there's somebody, Dane Cook you had mentioned, or Amy Schumer, or Kevin Hart, or any of these names of people that really hit it. Well, chances are, if they weren't good at the business, they knew they had to be and found somebody that was. They understood it. They saw the big picture of the business and said, if I want to get here, they were laser focused and said, you know what? I can't do it in a rickshaw. I have to hire an Uber or a taxi or buy a plane ticket to get there. And they knew where they wanted to go, and they're selling out arenas while you're working at an Uncle Hooch's, cat house in Okoboji, Alabama, waffles $5.99 and jer-dog and Dobie. That's not what you want to be doing.
Right, I agree. 100%. And even like if you look at Kevin Hart and Amy Schumer, you know, I've heard Kevin Hart in an interview talk about, I was out there when no one knew who I was. I was collecting emails. I was glad handing. I was doing meet and greets. I was the one making the contacts and building up my following. Then that's what got him the gigs for later on. So even if you just want to learn the business and promotion just enough to build your following, that right there is worth. It's worth gold. It's the golden ticket, because with a following you can go anywhere. You don't necessarily need a comedy club. You don't necessarily need bookers and agents. If you have a following, like Doug Stanhope, for instance, Doug Stanhope will play a fucking pool hall because he has a following.
And it's so funny that he billed himself as the unbookables because clubs wouldn't book him. Okay, I'm looking at. I don't know who's in this call, but if you're, I think Lou Deck is. Thank you, Lou, for everything you do. I owe you a call. You get an extra special 5-star. James R. Zingelman, another one. Bill Gorgo, the veterans in the group. There's nothing against the newbies if there are, but I am banned from every funny bone in America because I wrote a blog a few years ago that the booker of them didn't like, and the power of social media. It can work against you as well as it for you. So that went out in about 30 seconds, and I got booked from a band from every club within a 5-state region. You know what? The first time I'm a draw, those people will crawl naked over 5 miles of broken glass to listen to me spit in a tin cup through a bad phone connection because I can make them money. And that's hypocritical, and it's bullshit, and that's the way business is.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is. And I could worship Satan and kill puppies, and if I put butts in seats, Dobie Maxwell's my new best friend.
But see, the other thing is, when you get to that point, you won't necessarily need those particular clubs.
Right.
You could go anywhere.
Anywhere.
You can go anywhere.
Yeah, and I think here's a big thing. And take it from somebody who's done everything wrong on every level. Don't carry a grudge. I know that's hard to do. You know, I'm going to show those people, whoever those people are, your parents, your siblings, the person that wouldn't go out with you at prom, the bookers that wouldn't book you, the people that told you you weren't ever going to do anything. It's like don't. The Beatles were rejected from every record label there is.
Right.
Pretty much. Elvis was kicked out of the Grand Ole Opry, and over and over and over again. Hugely successful people. The San Francisco Comedy Competition is the biggest comedy competition in the world. All the people that never won, Robin Williams, Rosie O'Donnell, Mark Curry got his own sitcom after a while. They didn't win the competition. They were finalists. I took third. I lost on a technicality. I'm still waiting to hit my big hit. But my point is, it doesn't mean just because one person or at a certain time in your career, some people are late bloomers. There's a lot of people I've seen when they first started. Ed Driscoll is in the group. He's a great guy from Pittsburgh. He saw Louis C.K. his very first time on stage in Boston. He said, I brought him up at an open mic. And like everybody stinks at their first 100 open mics. And he said, that he stayed with it, he had a vision, and he found his stride, and that's how it works. You got to be tunnel vision, not thinking about you are in charge. Well, if I get a manager, that manager is going to be it. No. You have a manager to carry out your wishes and your plan. You can collaborate on that plan, but you might not know what to do. So that's why we're here to collaborate on a plan. Now, you and I have different business plans, but I learn from you all the time, and I don't want to work the same gigs you do.
Likewise, but principles and concepts carry over.
Absolutely.
It doesn't. You can do something different, but still use the same principle or concept.
It's just like a good musician could play in a country band one night, a rock band the next night, and a polka band the night afterwards, and still be successful because they know music. The same thing. You could sell out a bar gig somewhere, and I could sell out an old folks' home. And it would be the same principles that were in. If wrestling was like that too, people talk about wrestling, well, that's for idiots. Well, the fans might be idiots, but the people that promote wrestling, very, very astute, and they go to the lowest common denominator in a good way with their psychology of getting places. If you'll notice it in a match, this is a good example, in a wrestling match, before the match starts, the referee will be acting like he's giving the rules to the wrestlers.
Right.
No pulling hair, no throwing over the top rope. He's doing it very animated so the people in the back row know that he's saying, don't pull hair, don't throw over the back rope. He's telling a story. And comedians, I think, too, have to tell a story, and your story is who you are as a character. Jer-Dog talks about he's married. That's a big part of his act and what he is. I'm not married. I don't do one joke about that. So many people, the comics worry about, I got a great new joke. No, the audience doesn't care about your joke. It's the whole package. It should be a meal. Well, I got a heck of an order of mashed potatoes. Well, I need a steak, and I need some corn, and I need a salad, and I need a drink, and I need it presented nicely. It's an entire meal that you're putting out there. It's how you dress, how you look, what you say, what you do, and it's not about new material. The audience, it's new to them, even if you've done it 5,000 times.
Right.
The business is, okay, Kentucky Fried Chicken is the same in Beijing as it is in Boca Raton, Florida, as it is in Kentucky. Or it should be. If you're going to, I'm going to put pineapple sauce on this chicken in here. Well, that's not KFC then. If you're selling a product, I've seen comics that send out a video, get booked, and don't do any material off that video. Well, that's 5 years ago. I'm ahead. No, I hired the comic that I saw on the video. I want you to do that act. That's why I hired you.
I've lectured about that before at clubs too. With I went to one place and they go, "You're doing a little bit too much of the pop material. Taper that back a little bit." I'll go, okay. So then the next club I go to, I taper back on the pop material, and they go, "We hired you to do your pop material.
Yeah.
If I hire jer-dog, I'm hiring him to do this. If I hire Dobie, I'm hiring him to do this." Like I got this whole lecture about why they hire comedians. I'm like, okay, then that reinforced in my head that whatever it is you do, go full tilt with it.
Yeah.
And you might lose some people along the way, but you're going to attract the right people along the way as well, without necessarily having to change your act just to accommodate somebody.
But here's the thing too: the audience will always be the standard bearer of what your product is. You see what I'm saying? And people say, "Well, I'm edgy. I'm going to do Trump jokes. I'm going to do pot material." There's a market for anything that you're going to choose to do. Who is that market? Is it big enough? And when you're starting out, to go in that area for the pot material, it's like, okay, I'm going to take my first karate class, but I'm going to be a 7th degree black belt at the end of this hour.
Right.
And that's ridiculous to think that. Learn the fundamentals. When I always say word clean, what are you, a prude? Are you a churchy? I'm none of those things. I am realistic enough to think you have to learn the craft before you can go out, and that's part of the business. And working clean gives you more opportunities to get stage time. It doesn't clash with anything else that's going on. So when you get your experience and put in your 10,000 hours, like jer-dog talks about, you got to get your 10,000 hours in. There was a caller in our last broadcast, I will say this, I was a little perturbed with my insensitivity to his needs of thinking that he is a quote-unquote headliner. I've been at this 30 years. I am not a headliner. I am a strong show closer. If you put Dobie Maxwell and Fish Fry, $7.95, more people will show up for the Fish Fry than Dobie Maxwell. And that's not an insult. If you're a Chicago Cubs fan, the Chicago Cubs won the World Series last year, name every member of the Chicago Cubs. Even if you're a huge fan, there's 25 of them. And there were some guys that got sent up and down. So I think it was 32 or 33 total members of the Chicago Cubs last year. I'll buy you a steak dinner if you can name me every one.
Right.
Can't do it. Jeremy Danley, Dobie Maxwell, Lou Deck, Bill Gorgo, Ralph Tedda, James R. Zingelman, all comedians that make our living at stand-up comedy. The average person here where we are at the Red Robin Hamburger Place, are they going to know any of us? No. I took my funny, I made a post about it in the group. I found a CD of mine at a Goodwill yesterday. It was always my dream to find it and buy it for 49 cents and resell it for top dollar. Well, it was 99 cents, and I found it next to a George Carlin on one side and a Weird Al on the other. And it's so funny, I went up to the clerk, and it was me on the CD, Dobie Maxwell. She's looking at it like, who is this? What is this? I paid for it with my debit card, which said Dobie Maxwell. Did she notice? No. It's not an ego thing. I know we all want it. We want to have that ego build up. I'm a superstar, and I'm an artist, and people don't care about that.
No.
They want their laughs. They got problems too, man.
Right.
And so that's what we get down to nuts and bolts, nitty gritty. Everyone in the group, including jer-dog and me, needs this seminar on April 30th. We happen to be putting it on, but if you told me you're going to put it on and you still have to pay $100, I would do it.
I would too, because it's a shortcut to where you want to go business-wise.
Right.
I know the presentation that I'm going to give is essentially the Cliff Notes version of how I got where I got over the course of 10 years.
Right. Well, David Rudolph has 40 years. Linda Parrott's got a lifetime being around it. Chip Sobel's got 40 years. So now you add up, you're talking 150 years.
Of combined experience. And different perspectives.
Different perspectives in the business. I know I'm going to learn way more than we give. The sum of us is always better than me. And the comedians think, I don't need anybody help. a singular thing, and it's so wrong to think that. And if we don't get anybody to sign up, we're going to do the seminar anyway. So sell it to somebody who knows how important it is.
Yeah, because I want to learn. So that's what I want to do.
And it's a constant thing. The business is constantly changing. Life is constantly changing. If you would have told me 10 years ago, jer-dog and I are going to sit at a restaurant and do a video broadcast that goes all over the internet, you're out of your mind. It wasn't even available back then.
Right.
So
it's a whole new world.
And it's a whole new world, and we have to entertain that whole new world in a whole new way. And I have to grow just as you do. And people coming up, you have to figure that out and get out, because there's a lot more people. For every one comic that we had with us when we started out, there's 100 now.
Right.
I look at the groups of all these cities, the Charlotte, North Carolina comedy group. There's 1,700 people in there. When I started in Milwaukee, which is a city about the same size as Charlotte, there was about 10 comics, and we all knew each other. You don't have to like those people, but you knew who they were, and you showed up at a gig or an open mic. Oh, there's jer-dog, there's Bill Gorgo, there's Tim Walco, blah, blah, blah. And you knew that there was a community. Probably whipped puppies and dented cans, and there was some clashing, and there was some fighting going on.
Right.
But now there's hundreds, if not thousands, and there's no community and stuff. And you got to, what is your goal? I would think to make a living. Wouldn't you think?
That's what they said. That's what my goal always was.
That's always been my goal.
Well, my goal when I first started, it was just to have fun. I wasn't thinking. I never even thought comedy was a legitimate career path. Mm-hmm. I saw that some guys do it. They're almost always actors that I saw on TV.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh well, when he's not doing his TV show, he does this thing. I didn't think of it as I didn't know about journeyman working class comics like me and you.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that at all. Mm-hmm. And so when I first started doing stand-up, it was just like, oh, this is just a fun little hobby that I was doing.
Yeah.
And then we got to a point where, well, this is actually the only thing that I'm good at on any level. So if I just get a little bit better at it, maybe I can make a living. And then I started doing, to a small extent, I was kind of like a national feature. Mm-hmm. I was making an Oak, couple $100 a week.
Sure.
Will pay your bills when you're 20 years old.
Yep.
25 years old. But then when you have kids, that shit ain't gonna pay your bills no more. So that, for me, learning business and marketing and promotion was out of necessity, because I certainly wasn't gonna fucking go back and bag groceries.
Well, no, and you can't go 1 foot in the water. I'm going to bag groceries 2 weeks out of the month, and I'm going to be a comic the other 2 weeks out of the month. Back then, we talk about supply and demand. There was enough of a supply. I'm sorry, I'm shaking the camera here.
That's all right.
The supply was you could work every week. If you were a so-so comedian, you could work somewhere. Might not be A rooms, might not be the best money, but you could work somewhere and eat. That eat might be a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. A lot of times at the club, they'll give you a meal, or at least at half price a meal, or there's popcorn or something. A lot of times you sleep in a rest area and we're all good.
Yeah.
Did you want to put in
yeah, in a little bit. Yeah. Thanks.
We might cut this short because I hear jer-dog's stomach growling. So
I'm all right.
Okay.
I do intermittent fasting anyway, so I can hold off for
gotcha.
hours.
Okay, good, very good.
But we can do some Q&A.
Yeah, let's do some Q&A. And again, I know it's Easter. We're just trying to work the bugs out of these things.
We got some people watching right now, so type in a question. Just tell me. I don't know if they can hear me.
Type in a question. They're not just looking at my ugly mug, are they?
Right now, yeah. I can go back and forth.
Yeah, please do that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about that. No. If you want to type in a question, please type in a question.
Yeah, give us some questions down below. We'll answer anything. We've got a few to go off of right now that Lou Deck put in earlier when you made the plug for it, which I think are two really good ones to go off on.
I think we got to call it
the
Maxwell Method starring Lou Deck. He has been a stellar human being, and I got to call him. So it's one of those things where I'm so far behind, but everything he puts in there is because of his experience. Thank you, Lou. I appreciate you, buddy. What's his question?
So this is a two-part question. Talk about the 3 most common bad choices stand-ups make in the first 3 years. And the 3 best choices to make in the next 3 years. So it's a two-parter. Let's start with the first one. 3 most common bad choices stand-ups make in the first 3 years.
Yes, I'll give you one first. You have
Go
one?
ahead.
I think was the first 3 years that you're in the business, the biggest mistake I've seen is going to every comedy stage within 1,000 miles of your home. Okay? You've got 6 minutes, man, and you think you have 6 minutes. You don't even have 60 seconds. It's baby teeth. You got 3 baby teeth in there, and Oh, look at the parents. Those teeth are cute. Look at little poopsie pie. You can't chew a piece of meat with those. And you go to every stage within 1,500 miles or 1,000 miles, and the booker of that stage will see you at that level. You're an open micer. You're a T-ball player, and you're auditioning for the major leagues. You're not ready yet, but now you've scorched yourself in all the A rooms, and people say, yeah, they'll give anybody a try. I got to try out at the Improv. Well, you know what? Anybody could call up and get a tryout at the Improv, and they'll look at you and say, you have no business in your sound amplification equipment, that you want them to get to remember your name? Suck at an audition. You know, go in there and then be a cocky bastard, too. I've got 6 YouTube videos out and a CD, and I got, on the side of my car, I got a magnet that says, you know, jer-dog comedy show, and my license plate says Comic One, and all these things that are just the biggest hack things that you have no idea about. Find a place to suck, and suck with pride and gusto, and know that you're paying your dues, and you're doing 5 minutes to 10 to 15, and you're watching headliners, and okay, I said that with closers, veterans, good comedians that make their living at it. Beg to buy them a pizza or a hamburger after the show. Go find Lou Deck in LA and say, can I polish your shoes to please get 10 minutes of your time? He's got an ebook. It's fantastic. Buy his book. Buy him lunch. Jer-dog is in your town. Take him out there. Learn from the professionals. There's so many things you don't know. Okay, you're in 1st grade, all right? Yeah, well, now I'm auditioning for high school. There's so many things that you have no idea that's going to be about. Gee, I'm going to be going through puberty then. Oh, I didn't think about that. My voice is changing. I got zits. My hormones are going everywhere. No, they didn't tell you that, did they? The same thing with stand-up comedy. That's the number one thing, is getting 5 minutes of material and going everywhere, because it's all ego and it's stupid business. You have one?
I do have one. Along the lines of what you're talking about with material development, I think one of the biggest mistakes that comedians make, especially these days, is not recording their sets.
Amen.
Every fucking set possible. I don't mean to curse. I'm sorry. I get passionate about this shit, and then again I cursed again. But whatever. I am.
You prick.
It's especially this day and age when we have phones. You have a voice recorder on your phone. We have a video camera on your phone. They're cheap. They're $100 for a video camera at Walmart.
It's crazy.
When I first started, I brought up a giant full-size tape recorder to set on the bar stool, like a regular one that you had to push play and record at the same time. On a big cassette, I recorded as many. I can't say literally 100% of my sets were recorded, but as many as I possibly could. I'd say 80 to 90% of them were.
Now, why do you think that's important? And I'll say why I think that's important.
Well, I got that from being in high school sports. When I was in high school sports, we'd go back and we'd watch the game film. Every basketball game that we had, even the junior varsity games, they had the AV club up in the crow's nest of the gymnasium with the over-the-shoulder VHS camcorder filming the game, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then on Mondays, we'd go, instead of practicing, we'd get together in the library. The coach would pull the big TV stand, pop the tape in from the game, and every single play and every single turnover, every single thing you did wrong, you had physical evidence, like you visual. Here's where you screwed up, Danley. Here's where you screwed up. I got more benefit from that than just going out and practice and being yelled at when I screwed up the play. Actually, watching myself play what I did right and what I did wrong was a very valuable learning tool for me. So when I started doing stand-up, I just did that naturally.
Beautiful.
I think someone mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, you can record over a tape. Now we've got phones. You can record every set you do and have a whole volume's worth of performances in one location. Then when you're traveling, you can plug that into your car stereo. You can put in your headphones. You can listen to it while you're driving in between gigs. There is no better valuable tool to get better than watching yourself or listening to yourself, which are actually two different sciences, the audio and the visual. A lot of times when I just listen to my material, I'm able to write better jokes than when I'm watching it because I'm too focused on this kind of stuff. When I'm just listening, I'm like, oh, I added too many words into that setup. If you're not recording every set possible, I think you're making a huge mistake.
You're making a huge, and I see I wouldn't have even thought of that angle, so I'm glad I asked you. I think a big thing, the reason to record is, number one, you don't have to watch it. I hate watching myself. I hate hearing myself. And that's something Rodney Dangerfield has that. Johnny Depp has that. So thank God I'm not watching my own puss on this thing, because I would have shut it off in the first 5 seconds. But if you're getting something out of this and you can stand it, I think the big thing I have learned, on my way up, I'm an ad-libber. Okay, I had a loose outline of what I wanted to do, but I always was smart enough to be in the moment. And a lot of people, it's just one instinct that I had that turns out I'm glad I had that. And I was kind of prepared, but if something happened, I would not be afraid to go off in that direction and ad-lib something. And sometimes someone in the crowd would say something. I'm thinking, that's funny, I could use that. Nobody says if they ad-lib something that you can't use it the rest of your, the rest of your life. And I think, say you tape every set, 50 of them, and one set you just go off and a waitress drops a tray of drinks and you go off on a 5-minute rant, you have all these kind of things in it. Well, you need that on tape, because your memory's not going to remember all of it, because you're on stage trying to finish your show. It's just not possible to do that. You look back at it objectively and thinking, this is gold and I have it recorded. So it's a Bruder tape. You saw Kennedy's head go back and to the left. Well, let's try to solve it now. That's a very, very important thing to record it. Number two, and I can say this as an old fart, 30 years from now, you're going to love looking back on your set. It's, when you start out, you think, man, I'm really starting to swing, and my laughs are getting up there. And 10 years, someone will come up to you, hey, jer-dog, and they'll quote a bit that you did. And you just cringe and wince, and oh, God, I'm so embarrassed. Oh, no, that was a funny bit. I have people come up to do bits to me in my face that I've done years ago that I cringe at, and I thought it was really funny, and you'll want that, trust me, down the road.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't have to watch them all, but to have it, there's no excuse. It's in your phone, in everyone's pocket, and if you forget your phone, does anyone in the audience have a cell phone tonight? Everybody else does. Have them all record you.
Right.
That might be really a funny thing.
Yeah. I think David Tell actually did that. He went on the road and he handed video cameras out to the audience and said, "You just record me." He didn't bring a professional camera crew.
That's really cool.
When I first started, something else along those lines of what you're talking about is that someone would say to me, "Oh, I like that bit that you did." And I would forget that I did it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was a good bit." And I can bring it back in. And now that I've got 10 years of more reference points and experience, now I can expand it out. It's got callbacks. It ties into this other thing that I'm doing. It's now it's relevant to what's going on in today's political climate. There's always something you can pull out of your bank of material. Your mind, like I call it my material mind. If I go into my videos or my audio recordings or my notebooks, I can strip my material out of that I either haven't done before or did years ago that are now suddenly relevant again to what I'm doing currently.
I had a friend of mine wrote for Grace Under Fire in Los Angeles, and the term that they used with the writer's room was their attic. Oh, jer-dog, he's got a big attic, and the attic is old material that you can bring out and reuse. I just found, I had a storage unit, and I moved 100 times like most comedians do. I opened up a box I hadn't seen in literally 20 years, from 1997, and I found about 150 pages of material that I had written down in various forms of completion. It was like Christmas. It's my material. I wrote it all. And 99% of it I haven't done, don't do, never tried on stage. I got a Christmas gift because I kept records. And that was in the old school when I would write it down in a gum wrapper or a bar napkin or a McDonald's bag or whatever it was, and made a point to fill notebooks. Now you don't have to do that if you don't want. Another thing I think is, and I'm so behind on technology, when they can transcribe an audio to a video. Someone did that to my act a few times. I did 3 shows at Zany's in Chicago on a Saturday night. They do 3 shows there, and somebody said, "I want to transcribe all your shows." I switch my material around, switch order around. I like to do what I call accordion bits. Some nights it's 3 or 4 minutes. Some nights it's 10 minutes. Some nights it's 20 minutes. And accordion in and out, depending on the night. And I said the audiences are going to be different. So it was a newspaper reporter, and he said, "I want to watch how 3 shows go." And he gave me the transcript. I still have it. And I look at it, and it's like, man, it looks a lot different written down, but you can see where the holes are. You say, boy, if I was going to release this as an article or a blog, I would structure it differently. But when you're talking, it's like, I know it worked on stage. I just had 3 shows. Some work better than others. And you are your product. If you learn nothing else from this session, we're going to stress that on the 30th. You are your product. You are in charge of your product. Whether you have a manager or not, you have to have some kind of vision. You can consult other people. You'll be consulting us and a staff of experts, but you ultimately have to shape and reshape your plan. Tony Robbins always talks about when a plane flies to Hawaii from San Francisco or LA, it never goes right to Hawaii. It's always adjusting and readjusting. That's 0.5%, 1%, 0.5%, and pretty soon, well, there's the island, there's Hawaii. They can't see it. They just kind of fly there, and they're always adjusting the flight until they get there. And I think our careers have to be exactly the same way. You know, things happen. Maybe a personal thing happens. What if one of your kids got sick, and you had to be there, and you had to be off the road for 6 months? Well, your kid comes first. You're going to have to find a way. Do you book shows from your house? What kind of business? Well, if you don't have any contacts, if you're farting around drinking after the shows, you don't have any business. Your business always has to be growing, and you have to think, how can I adjust no matter what happens?
Well, that's another cool thing about when you learn those business principles,
yes,
then you can apply it to something else.
Absolutely.
So maybe you can't necessarily apply it to getting your own bookings or doing your own shows. Let's say you have to take 6 months off the road because your kid gets sick.
Whatever.
You can apply it to booking other comedians.
Yes.
You could apply it to maybe a passive online income. You could apply it to maybe helping your spouse do something in their line of expertise. Whatever it is, business principles, even just learning the fundamentals and the basics. What I learned from my entrepreneurs class that I took here in Chicago was that all businesses are the same. The only difference is what is being delivered. When you're doing your marketing and your promotion and your stuff that gets customers, aka for comedy, putting asses in seats, it's the exact same thing as what a dentist needs to do to get his customers in.
Passing out cookies.
It's all the same thing.
Passing out bubblegum and peanut brittle.
Right.
Well, think about this now. Now, see, okay, talk about the 6 months off. You're already doing the work of setting up a network of gigs. Hey, I can't come on the road anymore. Well, who would you send? Well, I've got Katrina Brown, I've got Daryl Moon, I got Dobie Maxwell, I got all these people out there. So your network is already networking. Network for net worth. It's great to read comedy books. I love them all. The parents are wonderful. They'll be in there, and we're going to stress that in future episodes where I like to talk about comedy too. We also have to have a business library. I really, really feel that. You know, whether it's Tony Robbins or Robert Kiyosaki or Susie Orman or something about money and business. And you're right. Dan Kennedy's another one I really like. And those names, if they are foreign to you, please learn who they are.
Just Google. Go to the library.
Absolutely.
They're all in the library.
Well, I've got a storage unit, and literally floor to ceiling, I've got probably 2,000 books. And I buy them. Some are used, some are new. And if I go to prison, which I still might, and I'm in there for 30 years, and I read 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week, I wouldn't put a dent in half of them. I will, if you take our course, I will give you the book of your choice and mail it to you. I've got so many books. You see what I'm saying? I'll put together a list of 100 books. And you say, I want this book. You paid your... I will send it to you free of charge.
Awesome. That's awesome.
As a bonus. And that's a great... I mean, I really mean it.
No, and I know you do that because you send me books from time to time. This one I have right here with me?
Yeah. Can we plug this really quick? This is it looks a little crappy little book, Mustard Seeds, Shovels, and Mountains. I don't even think it's a good title. I don't think it looks very good. This guy, he's actually passed away. His name is J.F. Jim Straw. Google Jim Straw. I had a paranormal radio show in Kenosha, Wisconsin for 5 years, and he said how to use physio-psychic power to get money. What a scam guy this is. He was on there, and he was probably in his 70s at the time, and I heard his years of experience, and he's Southern, and he talks slow, and he was the wisest man. It just oozed off of him. I bought this book. It's dinged up now because I read it and I passed it out to so many people. It's short. It's a simple read. Simple is not easy. Cure cancer. Simple concept. You know, date a lot of people. Simple concept. Not easy to pull off. And the whole thing about getting your mindset. Jer-Dog's mindset is in business. And we started talking about it, and he's brought me along. I kind of always was, but I'm all over the place, and I need focus. That's my biggest weakness. And now I surround myself with it. You guys, we're doing the seminar, these kind of books. This is a great place to start. I get nothing out of it. He's passed away. I was really hoping to buy a stack of these and pass them out to everybody who signs up. I think that much of this book. And there's so many other ones too. It is a good one. I know you have ones too. We all have. I'm sure Lou does. And Lou's book is great about comedy, but I'm talking about just business and philosophy and theory type books.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, who are your favorites?
My favorite is, I would say, for business and marketing purposes, definitely Dan Kennedy.
Great.
Because he writes in a very easy way to understand. He doesn't try to talk over your head and give you weird demographic statistics and all this shit. He just says, this equals this equals this. Like, he gives you the fundamentals. His books are maybe 100, 200 pages. You know, big print. They're very easy to read. For a little bit more cerebral, is Robert Greene. Have you ever heard of Robert Greene?
I have not. I learned something. No.
Robert Greene has, I think, 5 or 6 books out.
Yeah.
The first one is his most famous one is called The 48 Laws of Power, and he wrote that book based on his experience in Hollywood. He was a writer in Hollywood, and he saw all these weird power games happening, where he noticed like there would be a producer that really wanted to direct his films.
Yeah.
So, but no one could say no. He knew that he would never get anybody's approval for him to direct. So what he would do is hire a director that he knew sucked, that would then get fired from the film, and then he could magically roll in as the hero and I'll step in as director and save the day.
Yeah.
And so when he noticed power games like that being played, and Robert Greene was a historian, he wanted to be a history writer, and he goes, well, this is the same that Napoleon did in the War of Whatever. So he noticed that these are just power games that people play on each other, whether you're in show business, whether you're a general in an army, whether you're a politician, no matter what you are, whether you're in a corporate office setting, these are power games that people play on. So he wrote a book called The 48 Laws of Power. It's got a lot of good history in it. It's got politics in it. But then he wrote another book called The Art of Seduction, which ostensibly is about how to get laid. So, you know, there's some people that could benefit from that. But the very back of it is how to sell anything to the masses. So ostensibly, on the surface, it's about how to get laid, but really it's about how to seduce an audience, how to seduce your market, how to get people just to sort of, how to attract people, not how to pursue people, but how to get people just to magically come to you. Not just so you could have sex with them, but maybe you could to make them laugh. Maybe to get them to tell people about your show. So then those people come, and then you build up your following that way. And then the bonus chapter in the end, how to sell anything to the masses. How to sell anything to the masses. What are we all trying to do with our comedy? We're trying to sell it to the masses.
Now, I'm going to stop you right there because I think so many comedians don't get that concept. You are a salesperson the entire time you were on stage. Something came up in the thread in the group not long ago. Well, I don't feel comfortable dressing up. I just wear a t-shirt and my testicles are hanging out and I have a big goiter and I have a big scar on my stomach that I just show, and I fart and I belch and I wear flip-flops and I haven't bathed since Obama's first term. I look like a total scumbag, maggot, hipster. I have a pierced nose, and I'm exaggerating only a little. And I'm not a prude, and I'm not saying that every joke in your act has to say, and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, or you have to wear a tuxedo on stage. What I'm saying is respect yourself, respect your audience. You know what I'm saying? I understand the younger generation dresses different than an older generation. I get that. Okay? There has to be some respect for yourself, saying, what is going to attract me to this person? You know, I see so many couples, you're an entertainer. You look like you slept in those clothes. You got a t-shirt with swear words on it, and it's like, are you out of your mind? Business, man. So important. Well, I'm a comic to avoid being a bit. No. Like it or not, man. You want less work? Manage a Taco Bell. You want a career that's less work than being a comedian? I'm telling you, there's so much in it. Oh, I didn't think it was all this. I just want to tell jokes and smoke dope. Well, that might be part of your and I've seen a lot of comics do a lot of both. But there's other things that need to free your time to do that.
Yeah, well, and I think that, you know, if you just want to tell jokes and smoke dope, all the more reason to learn business.
Right.
Guess what I get to do 5 days out of the week? Because I know business.
And you get the best
because
dope.
Every Friday and Saturday, I'm booked. So guess what I get to do Sunday through Thursday? Just write jokes and smoke dope.
And it's okay.
100%, but only because I'm freed up artistically, I'm freed up with my time, I'm freed up to be able to do whatever I want to do and live my life the way I want to live it, only because I've been able to apply these business principles, and I'm not waiting for somebody to give me an opportunity. I'm out there proactively making it happen in order to live the life that I want, in order not to have to go work according to somebody else's rules. If you go into a casino, oh hey, the casino, it's a great gig, but guess what? You can't say this, you can't say that, you gotta talk blah, blah, blah. Okay, now all of a sudden you can't be an artist. Now all of a sudden you have to follow somebody else's guidelines because they're the ones in charge of the business. As soon as you're in charge of your own business, and this is a spectrum for everybody, I'm kind of at the extreme end of it, where I'm not comfortable working for any gig unless I'm the one that produced it. Now, not saying that I can't do it, not to say that I don't have those skills. I go do state fair shows where I play a cowboy and a pirate for, the Mad Mike's company.
Group, yeah.
That's for kids. My children come to see that. It's squeaky clean. Okay, so I have the skill to do that, but it's based on my choosing because that's a fun gig for me. But if someone would come up and say, "Hey, I need you to do this," I'm like, well, maybe that's not my skill set.
Get someone else.
Let me refer you to Dobie Maxwell, or let me refer you to this other person who I think is going to be a better fit for you. It's going to be a good gig from them. And then guess what? You want to talk about networking earlier? That's the best way to network, because now I gave Dobie Maxwell a gig and I helped this client. They're both going to be appreciative to me for putting together the match, as opposed to me rolling and going, I can do anything, and then not being the right guy for it. Then the client gets screwed. Then the comedian gets screwed out of his opportunity, who really could have maximized it, and I screwed myself because now I have a bad reputation. You want to talk about mistakes in show business?
Big.
Not knowing where your wheelhouse is.
Important bromide right now, whether you like it or not. The best place to get hit is in the middle of the road. Middle of the road. I can do a little of this. I can do a little of singing, little impressions, little improv. You know what? See you later. jer-dog does pot jokes. He does marriage jokes. Okay, if you don't like that, don't hire jer-dog. I would say that. If you're looking for that, you're not looking for that. I know your act. I know my act. And the more people that you can get to know who you are and present who you are. I'm not saying you can't be dirty, off color, talk about sex, any of those things. And the other thing I want to say as you were going through there, the word artist has starving in front of it for a reason. You are not an artist, you are a product. If you want to be an artist, okay, sleep in the park, play a banjo with your case open, and eat rats and squirrels. If you're in show business, you want to get booked every week. I'm a headliner. Well, a headliner puts people in seats. You don't put people in seats. Until you do that,
agree.
That's how do you do that? Focus on it. Build your act along the way, but you've got to put people in seats.
I agree, and I think it all circles back around. We were talking about Robert Greene earlier, my favorite author.
I'm going to learn about
He
him.
tells this story in one of his books. I don't remember which one. It might be the 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
But he talks about, in order to, it circles all back around. If you want to be the best artist, be the best businessman. Everybody pretty much agrees that Picasso was a pretty kick-ass artist, right? But he was a better businessman. He was a great promoter.
He knew that.
He was a great promoter. Exactly. So he had these little tricks where he would bring out his display, and here's all the new pieces that I'm working on. And then the people would come into a studio and they're like, I don't know. I kind of like that one, but I need to think about it. Then I'll come back tomorrow. So he'd bring him back into the studio the next day, and suddenly those paintings weren't there. Well, not because they got sold. He just shoved them in the back room. And so they were like, well, the one you thought we were thinking about yesterday, someone else bought that. This is what I have now. It created a false sense of scarcity. And so then those people are like, oh shit, I better buy this one that he has available now, or I'm going to miss my opportunity.
Right.
Okay, so Pablo Picasso, who is known, his reputation among the general public is this great artist. Deep down, he was just a really, really sharp businessman.
Muhammad Ali, what did he call himself? The greatest. Ask anybody for generations, who's the greatest boxer? Muhammad Ali. Because he said he was Howard Stern, the king of all media. He called himself that because Michael Jackson called himself the king of pop. And he called himself that because Elvis, Colonel Parker, called himself the king of rock and roll. It's amazing to me that someone in a business, as we are as comedians, that is allegedly thriving on creativity, people are so non-creative in their promotion. Okay? You think, okay, I'm doing jokes and I'm at open mics and other comics think I'm funny. Well, other comics are not your competition. You're at a comedy club, there might be a ball game in town. Or a movie. Why are there bankable stars? People don't know what they like what they know. If, Ben Affleck is in a movie, well, I don't know who jer-dog and Dobie Maxwell is, but I know Ben Affleck. Could be a giant blockbuster floating turd without peanuts. And they'll go see those, they got their $10 or the end of the week, and their date, and they went to Red Robin, they had a hamburger, and I'm not getting late tonight, so what am I going to do? Am I going to see comedy? Am I going to see a rock band? They're in town too. I got cable, I've got Netflix. Every comedian's got a Netflix special now. I can just kind of rent one of that and get a pizza. So you better shit fire. Pardon my French. You better have some kind of offer, some kind of gimmick. I mean, Google the people. Vince McMahon, pro wrestler. P.T. Barnum, Harry Houdini, if you're a young comic, you don't know who these people are, Google them. I used to say people go to the library. You lazy, you can sit on your ass, do whatever, and Google these people. Harry Houdini used to hang himself by a chain in the town square. What time? You just hang there, or you put a sign tonight. Come to the whatever the thing is, buy a ticket and see it. And he do his tricks like that. There was a lot more ingenuity in the business part hundreds of years ago than there is today. I almost feel embarrassed that I went through the generation of I'm like a millennial in the 80s generation. There was so many comedy gigs. I didn't have to worry about getting gigs.
Right.
There's clubs everywhere. I had a mediocre so-so act and I could get booked every week. I thought my shit was chocolate ice cream. Well, it ain't. And it wasn't.
Right.
And now, guys like me that are veterans have said, geez, I got to market myself. I don't even have a website. Well, you better get one. Right. You better hire some kid. You better find somebody to do it.
You brought up Harry Houdini. If you read anything about Harry Houdini, you'll quickly realize that he was way more interested in how to put asses in seats and develop an audience and bring in a big crowd than he was about how to escape from handcuffs and whatnot. He was because he learned that. It's the way I am about comedy. Okay, listen. Here's why I'm so passionate about learning business. Because I know I'm funny. Okay, you and I can talk about the nuances of a setup and punchline till we're blue in the face. And guess what? You're still going to be just as funny, and I'm still going to be just as funny. And we can roll in. I'm like, oh, I got a little bit of info from Dobie Maxwell, and I'll apply that to my next gig, and it'll be very valuable and helpful. Absolutely, absolutely. But I already started off from a baseline of being naturally already funny.
Right.
Like, oh, you give me a microphone, you let me yap in it long enough, and funny shit's going to come out. You give you a microphone, you yap in it long enough, funny shit's going to come out. You kind of already have those tools. Not to say that they can't be developed. I spend a lot of time in the workshop. I mentioned earlier, I videotape every set. I spend a lot of time working on that element of it. But that's what comes natural to me. That's what's easy to me. Of course I'm going to work on that. I don't have to be motivated to work on my comedy. It's already there. Okay? But becoming motivated to work on the business end and getting the gigs and learning promotion, because I have to try a little bit harder at that, I become more passionate about it. Because when I see the results from it, then I'm able to actually share my creativity with people. If what you have truly is good, if what you have is a truly good show, if you really have a legitimately kick-ass show that people are going to have a great time watching, and they're going to be able to forget about their problems and laugh their ass off and take their wife out on a date night or take their girlfriend out on a date or take their whatever it is, they're going to have a good time. If what you truly have offers that, I feel like you have a moral obligation to sell it. You have a moral obligation to be promoting yourself and getting those gigs. Because otherwise, what are you doing? You're sitting at home on a couch on a Friday night and you're hoarding your gift. You're not sharing it with anybody. Yeah, you've got this gift of being able to make people laugh. You can write jokes till you're blue in the face. You can perform. You're super dynamic. Great. But what good does that do if you're sitting on the couch on a Friday night? You're not sharing that with anybody.
I read an article about Richard Pryor, and Richard Pryor can be someone that people just automatically say, well, he was great. And I'm not saying he's not great, but the article said that he was so focused on dope and his problems and his demons and his movies and just all the things that go around with being a star, that his career really lacked. He didn't improve his acting, he didn't improve his stand-up because he just knew, well, I'm okay, and he was very selfish with that. Now, I'm not saying that, well, you could prove that he wasn't. It was an interesting take in an article that I had never read about that before. Whereas someone like, look at Woody Allen. Whether you like Woody Allen or not, he, I believe, has had 50 years, give or take, of a movie a year that he either wrote, produced, directed, starred in, hired the actors, wrote the scripts. It's 50 years, and he's probably close to age. Born at 35, so he's 82. Okay, and still doing it, and he's going to die. That's what he's doing. No signs of slowing down. I've got 2 CDs, a DVD, and a book that I wrote, and I know how hard that was. And I look at, okay, my little ant turd is maybe, a grasshopper farts, blows the ant turd away, and I am zilch when I'm dead. Woody Allen, and he says the same thing, well, when I'm dead, it's all over, and I never really contributed anything. If you are a performer, if you are an artist, if you are an entertainer, or a combination of the three, which I think we all need to be, it's what you do. It's what you live. Jer-dog's coming through town. If this video wasn't here, we'd be eating hamburgers and talking about the exact same things that we're talking about now.
Correct.
I don't think our conversation would have changed one bit.
Right. Not at all.
Except giving credit to Lou Deck. Because he buys. He's been great at that too. You got more questions?
Yeah. What are the three best choices to make in the next 3 years, other than signing up for our seminar on April 30th?
Well, that's one right there, and I get no personal, because I'm going to be shutting up for most of the seminar, because my business is very, very weak, and I'll be the first one to admit it. I just had a big breakthrough in my finances. I lost a house 15 years ago, and I thought my credit was killed for life. I didn't even open up mail, and I got judgments against me. And I talked to about 6 people in the last 2 weeks. They said, no, you can do this, and I'm unfolding it. And now, you know what? I really have hope. I'm thinking I have mentors when I never had mentors before. Find comedy mentors. Doesn't have to be Dobie Maxwell, even though my name's on the group. Could be jer-dog, could be Lou Deck, could be Bill Gorgo, could be Chip Sobel. It could be a combination of all of us for certain parts that you need. We all need the show. We all need the business. Taxes. What else we need? Management. Your career management. Just someone to consult. Okay, while you're out on a 6-week tour. Who's going to be selling your comedy script in LA? You're networking everywhere. Who's going to be doing your newsletter? Hey, jer-dog, we got our newsletter coming up on the 15th. While you're at the gig, on Sunday before you leave the hotel, you got an hour writing some content that I can put in there. I have a marketing person now. Her name is Susie Austin. I work with her in radio. She has never been around a comedian in her life. She's been around entertainment. She used to work for an ad agency. She was in radio. She said, okay, this is what you need. She's got me a Facebook fan page. I think I have like almost 4,000 people on it. I never had that before. My gigs now, I do a one-man show about growing up in Milwaukee. Well, it's a very limited show. If you didn't grow up in Milwaukee, you won't know the references. But she's got, I'm throwing out the first pitch next week at the Brewer Stadium. I've been a Brewer fan my entire life.
Awesome.
It's author, comedian, Dobie Maxwell, throwing it. Things like that, you need a mentor in your marketing and in your comedy. And I'm telling you, for the Dave Rudolph, please forgive me for not mentioning Dave Rudolph, he approached me about this before I even met jer-dog. And he's been, as a musician, doing the same principles that we're going to be talking about. Don't think you can do it yourself. There's nothing that's heroic about not getting help. Everybody. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks of football, sat on the bench for years being mentored or watching Brett Favre. You see what I'm saying? You don't just go out there, here I am. Yes, you got to crawl before you walk, before you run. And I say that until people are sick of hearing it. But if you're crawling, doesn't mean you can't have fun crawling. Doesn't mean you can't have fun walking. And when you start running, you get tired. So who is going to be your team? You know what I'm saying? You need a football team or blocking around you and a plan and everything. And that's what it is. And if this is too complex, I'll have to quit. You know what? Good. I hope you quit. One less idiot clogging the toilet for people like us that are out there hustling. Someone said LA is a great place to be because nobody needs an alarm clock. Fear wakes you up every morning knowing that someone else is up a little bit earlier going after exactly the same thing you want. And I don't know about you, I like to compete. Even if I don't win, the only person I'm ever competing against is me. And if I'm out there giving it, and jer-dog goes up there and he gets a movie deal and he wins an Academy Award, who's even the first one to go up and shake jer-dog's hand and say, you know what, you worked hard, you figured it out, you got it, can I drive your limo or be your pool boy? Because you did it.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? You're not competing with anyone else but you, but you got to, I'm sorry to keep harping on this.
No, it's
That's
good point.
why it's so important. Find mentors. And you know what? Like shoes. You get one ad, it's not working out, so find another one. It doesn't have to be one person in every facet.
I would also, just to add to that, I think it's very important to find a mentor. Number one. I think maybe also find a mentee. Because the teacher always learns more than the student.
Sure.
So even if you're only 6 months in, find someone who it's their very first set ever and show them at least what to do just to get on stage, to do their first time on stage. Whatever skill level you're at or whatever experience, you have something to offer to someone beneath you. Find someone above you to be your mentor, and then find someone beneath you to mentee as well. Excellent. Be responsible with it. Don't act like you know more than you do, which... Again, that
could happen.
A lot of these suggestions come with caveats because I know comedians. Find someone to mentee as well as find a mentor.
Okay, another thing I think very, very important in any business, but especially show business. 2 important words which I want to see you get tattooed on your genitals, so it stings to get you. Be nice. My gosh. How hard is it to be nice? So many people are they're going to get there and they're going to screw everybody over. It takes to get, and they're going to knock people out of their way. Just be nice. Be friendly. Someone else gets something up, congratulate them. Send them an email and mean it. They're not taking anything away from your pie. And you know what? And if you were competing for the same gig and they got it, congratulate them anyway, because it's not one thing does not make anybody's career. You know, I got on the Craig Ferguson show. Okay, it wasn't the Tonight Show with Johnny in the 70s, which was the big deal, and it was a pretty nice thing. I got a lot of comments that said, hey, Brett, Jake Johansson was one. He's been on Letterman 30-some times. He calls me, and I was on one time on a Craig Ferguson show, which wasn't as high up on the ladder as Letterman. That's class, and I know he meant it, because Jake Johansson is a great guy, and I want to acknowledge that. But just be friendly. A waitress comes, well, that's just a waitress. You know what? Hey, she's probably got a couple of kids. She's hustling around. Give her $1 when she gives you water. Well, others are free. I know. This is
Tip
for you.
her anyway.
This is for you, and mean it. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. I'll leave it at that.
Right. That's a good one. That's
It is
excellent.
excellent. So true. What else you got? We got some questions.
When should newish acts consider moving to a bigger market for stand-ups?
5 years after you think you should.
Why do you say that?
I don't say 5 years. That may be a little bit harsh. You'll know. You know, okay, pregnancy is 9 months for a reason. You know, I like it to be 4 years. It's warm in here. I get 3 hots in a cot. I can sleep a lot. I can do whatever I want. You know what?
Yeah.
Mom's gonna push you. Nature's gonna push you out. And I think you're in a city, and we all have different things. Now, you started in Iowa, or you started in Chicago? I met you.
I started in Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, and I moved to Chicago mostly just because I wanted to live there ever since I saw the movie Blues Brothers.
Okay.
It had very little to do with this is going to be my place where I'm going to make my bones as a comedian.
Now, okay, I think you should talk about this then. When you were in Iowa, answer his question or her question, what made you think, you know what, I need to, what made you think you were ready?
To move to Chicago?
Yeah.
I had already been performing just about everywhere else in the country. I drove 17 hours one way to Leesville, Louisiana, and then drove 17 hours back overnight to do a gig in Jefferson, Iowa. All right. I paid my dues. Not because I paid my dues because of that one example. Because that one example I repeated over and over and over again for about 7 years. Yeah. I started in stand-up in 1995. I didn't move to Chicago until 2003. All right. So I don't know like what the amount, like any years is going to be an arbitrary number. I moved to Chicago just because I wanted to live in Chicago. Yeah. If I moved there and I wound up selling real estate, I'm still going to live in Chicago because I wanted to be there.
Right. Yeah.
But moving there, I was able to meet guys like you. That you could get on stage any night of the week. It opened up so many more doors of opportunity, mostly in terms of networking. I came up a little bit different, and when I came up in Des Moines, the Funny Bone only did an amateur night. It was a contest that they held over 6 weeks in the middle of the summer. That was the only time you could get on stage when you were just starting out. There were no other clubs that were doing open mics. There was nothing else like that available. The way I got started doing stand-up was a talent show at my college. And I remember having, like, as one of my goals, someday I'll do a stand-up comedy routine. Like, I would just do it that one time, and got that out of my system.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I crossed that off the bucket list. Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean?
Funny.
But I got addicted to it. But I didn't know where else to perform. I had a friend who was a DJ, karaoke DJ, and one night he was at this bar, and they didn't have any customers. It was a slow night. So he's sitting there, no one's doing karaoke. He goes, hey, get up there, do your comedy thing. So like, all right, sure. So I grab the microphone and I do like 10 minutes to like 6 people that were at that bar or whatever. That was actually kind of fun. So then I just started going to karaoke bar after karaoke bar after karaoke bar. That was the way I developed my act. I didn't go to comedy clubs because that opportunity didn't exist in the mid-90s in Iowa.
Right.
So I would go to 6 different karaoke bars in one night, and instead of doing a song, I would ask the DJ if I could do 5 to 10 minutes of stand-up comedy. Most of them would get real excited about, oh yeah, that sounds good. Sure. Then I was put in a position where I didn't think of this then. It wasn't like, this is my grand strategy that I thought of when I was 20 years old. I'm just looking back now thinking, it put me in a position to have to win over an audience. Because they were expecting someone to get up there and sing, Guns N' Roses. Every rose has a thorn, and I'm up there telling dick and beer jokes. I had to win them over.
Sure.
And then I found this places where they were friendly towards my idea, where they were like, oh, here comes that guy. He's going to do his comedy thing. But then guess what? You had to do different materials.
Yes, you did.
So then I learned that, but I didn't think that was what the dynamic. I was forced to learn that.
Yeah.
So then I was forced to learn writing really fast. I was forced to learn how to capture an audience's attention really fast. And I was doing it night after night after night, sometimes 4 or 5 or 6 times a night in Des Moines, Iowa, in karaoke bars. When you move to Chicago or LA or New York, you don't have to go to a karaoke bar. They have they're legitimate comedy stages. You can get on stage several times a night, just about any night of the week. Listen, we're not talking about how to get paid. We're just talking about development here. When I was first starting, how do you know when you're ready to move on to a bigger city?
Yeah.
As soon as you feel like you're able to compete with the guys you're going to find in those bigger cities, which include anyone from a first-time open micer to a 30-year veteran like Dobie Maxwell. At the end of the day, you and I are essentially competing for the same stage time.
Yes.
Right? So you better be fucking good enough to compete with a Dobie Maxwell, at least on some level, even if that competition is, I'm just a little bit different than, I'm not quite as good, but I've got this little bit different approach that appeals to a little bit different audience. And so then, and in that way, we're all different. We all have the people that we speak to. So that way, there's room for all of us, if
Totally
you're willing
is.
to go out there and do it.
Can you hold your own? That's the thing, like jer-dog said, you're in a town, and we're all different. So whatever size town that you start in, sometimes people start in LA or New York or Chicago, and I always think that's a horrible thing. I say move to a smaller town. When I started, someone said Louisville, Indianapolis, and Cincinnati, that little triangle, there is, 60 or 65, Chip Sobel would know this better, 60 to 65% of the population of America is within 8 hours of those places. But if you're the king of Louisville or Cincinnati, you could make a living, but you're probably not going to be a star. But get to be, old wrestling used to have territories. Go master Cincinnati and Indianapolis and know the Sobels or the Yoders or whoever you're going to work for if you're going to do the club circuit. And then you move to Chicago and say, wow, this guy's ready. Again, the level that you showcase at, no matter where that is. I mean, the first time I had to go up on stage in Chicago, I had to follow, I believe it was Judy Tenuta, was one of, and she was, pretty big at the time. And I'm thinking, okay, I did my 3 to 5 minutes and it wasn't stellar, but I held my own. Can you hold your own? Are you the best where you are? Are you one of the best 2 or 3 names? Okay, then think about it. And again, now with the internet, network a little bit. Get to know comics. You know what? I've been through Denver. I'm supposed to have a really nice comedy show. Gee, James is in the Maxwell group. How about if I send him an email and say, I'm thinking about coming there to test out. Let me see the scene there. Do I like the rooms? Do you work for anybody? You don't have to pack up your truck like the Beverly Hillbillies and move to a town. Check it out a little bit before you go. Have a calculated risk. It used to be there were comedy towns like Minneapolis or Seattle or San Francisco even that weren't necessarily the places to go, New York or LA, and it was always LA. Now New York's got a little bit more heat, but LA was always the place to go. Go to those places that had a scene where you could work good rooms. Chicago had a scene. Detroit area had a scene. Now Austin is supposed to have a scene. I have never worked in Austin, Texas for whatever reason, but I hear it's excellent. And I think you got to go to 2 or 3 different places, 2 or 3 years at a time, and then go to the next place, and then say, you know what, I think I'm ready for New York or LA. I've got a ton of contacts. I think I have 30 really strong minutes. You can do well with 30 strong minutes, but try to have that 45. Well, I got my hour and a... Okay, all right. Then those people that think, I got hours of material. Show me 5 good minutes. That's another thing you need.
Yeah.
A good 5 to 6 minute audition set. I call it the high 5.
I call it your Magnificent 7.
Either, whatever you call
High
it.
5, Magnificent 7,
Doesn't
top
matter
10.
what you call it, whatever you call it, have that. So when you go up and the person for the network or HBO is in there, you're not going to, so how about this Trump thing or ad-lib something or be kooky. Pop the clutch and go through the gears and pound it.
Yeah,
and give your dismount to a big pop. Thank you, I'm jer-dog, good night.
Boom.
And showcase you. And you need to do that over and over and over again until you're sick of hearing it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
you
would agree.
need that 100 times.
I would agree.
And did you know it?
It's funny you brought that up because right as you said that, Blue Deck wrote in a question, why is having your best 7 minutes so important to newer acts?
Because
right as you said that,
but it showcases who you are. A lot of times you're going to get I'm not a big fan of sending videos. I've been in the business 30 years. I think I had 2 videos I sent out, and one of them was a blank tape. It was back when they had VHS tapes. I didn't have a video, so I said, well, I got to have a video before I hire you. So I wrote Dobie Maxwell, and I sent it out there, and he said, yeah, your tape's on my desk. I watched it. It was really good. I'll hire you. Well, there was this blank tape. I didn't have anything on it. So I knew that it was all bullshit. But to go belly to belly with somebody...
to go belly to belly with someone and get up there and impress them with a 7-minute solid set that you got laughs all the way through. Okay, he knows who's doing. I'll hire you. I drive 500 miles, sleep in my car to do an audition. That worked for me. In this day and age, there are different strategies because everyone's got an audition now. The best thing is know somebody and get in that way.
Yeah, I agree.
But someone has to know who you are. Again, well, what do you do? Well, I changed my act. I'm a bit eclectic, and I flirt with the cosmos. Give me 7 minutes of jokes. 7. What do you call it? Super 7?
The Magnificent
Seven.
Yeah.
I call it a high five. 5 minutes. Get yourself an act, Junior.
Yeah, 100%.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what else you got? I think that's all we got.
I got to use the bathroom right now.
All right,
I got
me
a
too.
clothespin in my pants. Thank you for doing this on Easter. If anybody watches, is this going to be reviewable? Can we see it again? Or
Yeah, I'll post it so everybody can check the replay. I'll
Yeah.
also put it up on YouTube. I figured out how
Please
to do
do that.
that.
Yeah.
So otherwise, that's it, man. And sign up
for the
thing on April
30th. You know what? It's $149 normally. jer-dog, out of the kindness of his heart. But wait, there's more. It's $99 and a book of your choice. I've got some very good books that I paid some hot money for. I will put together a list, and they're all self-improvement books, and you can have one as a bonus. Anyone you want to for signing up. And Lou Deck said he was going to volunteer his ebook. I think we're going to buy that out of the money too. He's going out there. And again, anyone else has got a book that we approve, you're getting that too.